In this strategy, as you may already know, we use multiple time frames, the main focus for our higher time frame analysis being on the 4-hour and the 15-minute. And for our lower time frame analysis, we use the 1 minute combined with the 5 seconds for those sniper entries. Always bearing in mind the higher time frames such as the monthly, weekly and the daily to build the whole story. But no matter what time frame you're on, price behaves in the same way. So what we're looking for on every time frame is essentially the same thing: structure, order flow and unmitigated zones. In this video, what we're going to be talking about is how we refine our higher time frame supply or demand zones down to more accurate lower time frame zones. This skill is an essential part of this strategy and comes into play when building the narrative for our entries. Alright, so here I'm going to go into how we refine our zones down from the higher time frames to the lower time frames. So starting here on the 4-hour, what we're going to be looking at overall is the overall picture, which we always need to bear in mind and build the story from the ground up. So overall, we've got this major 4-hour high up here. And we can see that we cemented this low down here after the break. And so this was our 4-hour unmitigated major premium. So overall, what we're doing, we've had a minor breaker structure on the 4-hour here. So we've turned bullish with minor structure, and we're expecting price now to come back to mitigate something in the premium of this major. So after we've had this minor breaker structure to the upside, we can then use our premium and discount tool to pop that between this low and this high up here. This high being the high that we use because this is where we first cemented this high, because this candle closed below the one to its left. So this is our official range or leg, and then we're looking at this discount zone for where price may react. As you can already see, price has passed through this little zone and tapped just into the bottom of this this wick here of this candle. So here's our 4-hour zone that we're currently in. Okay, and we'd have been looking at this as quite a clear 4-hour zone in the discount of this bullish leg. So far, pretty basic, pretty obvious. Here's our 4-hour zone. Now, once we've done this and we're looking at this zone, what we want to do is go down to lower time frames. First of all, for me, the 15-minute, and build the story of how this particular area formed on the 15-minute time frame. So using the way we view structure and order flow and everything like that to see if this area makes sense for price to come to, tap into, and get a reaction from. So if we look at the 15-minute, let me just take off this tool, and so this is our 4-hour area that we've marked off. Now viewable on the 15-minute. So let's look at the story before this area. So the 15-minute turned bullish with a major structural break right here. And so what we want to look for is order flow established at this point? Okay, so here was our leg, and yes, we can see price came back down to the discount before continuing to break structure to the upside. So okay, fair enough, we're pretty good from there. Ideally, we'd have mitigated a valid zone on the 15-minute at this point, but that's irrelevant for now. We have this breaker structure, so we had a new swing low and a new swing high. So what we want to do is take this and pop the premium discount tool on there, and then we can see that we did in fact mitigate to the discount again right here before continuing to break structure. Now we're going to take this and go to the next swing low and high, and what I can already see is that we had a minor breaker structure up here, and that is because we never mitigated this area to the discount. So now we know that, what we can see is that the 4-hour zone that we had marked out also sits within this 15-minute unmitigated discount area. So this is an example of what we mean when we say price is fractal. You have the 4-hour story that's built up, and quite simply a 4-hour demand zone in a 4-hour discount area. And now we zoom in. If we just imagine ourselves zooming in and the patterns forming, becoming clearer on the 15-minute, the lower time frame, we see that it also makes sense, and we've had kind of the same thing happen on the 15-minute. So now on the 15-minute, there were various zones that we could look at, as you can see. So this was the first zone in the discount. If we look to the left, we'll see that we had a little reaction to that, but ultimately that failed. And then if we look down here, this would have been another zone. Did we get a reaction there? And again, just a little pause, some sort of reaction here with this candle, and then price ultimately continued to go down. And then we came to this area right here. So we've got this inside bar, and now we can see that we did ultimately have an initial reaction to this zone. So let me just clear this up a bit. And we can kind of think like, why was that? So if we start to look at substructure, again, you can see that what happened was we had a 50-minute change of character at this point, sort of internal some sort of structure here. We had a break. So we had this change of character at this point and formed this leg of price. And then this is the fractal nature of price again, like once more. After this move, price came down. I mean, tapped the EQ exactly, but didn't quite come into the discount and completely missed any sort of area. So this inside bar was left before price continued to move up here. So that's the substructural break within the overall swing break that was also gave us this unmitigated area that is in both of those as well. So this area is now in an unmitigated 15-minute substructure, in an unmitigated 15-minute major leg, and also in an unmitigated 4-hour discount as well. So it's got all of that going for it. And now what we're going to do is go down again to the 1-minute time frame and really show that we can pick out our key areas by just zooming in, refining down these zones and building that story. So once again, if we look at the 1 minute, what we can see is we had, well, this overall 1 minute leg, this 15-minute substructural leg is pretty much the same as the overall 1 minute swing leg here. You can see we didn't break and close above structure or this high. In fact, this was the high over here. So we formed a low, a high, and then broke that low. And so we'd be waiting for a break of this high. It wicked above here and then finally closed above here. So the full 1 minute major would be from this low to this high, which is where we cemented the high for the first time right there. And as you can see, the first area in this discount is this one. So again, it's also within a 1 minute discount leg. So again, refining down, and then within this you can see we've got a few zones as well. This is a bit harder to pinpoint, but also, you know, it's fine to mark out all these zones, see if they make any sense. So we have this, and then we also have this down the bottom. So yeah, we've ultimately refined a 4-hour zone down to 3 1 minute zones. Of course, price could come lower. If we look at the 15 minute again, in where we are, where have those other zones disappeared to? There we go. You can see that price may also come down to this extreme area, but you know, that's the kind of thing you worry about once it comes to it. Okay, so once we've refined those zones down, and you know, this isn't a video about entries, but what we will do is wait to see how price reacts to them. So you can see straight away when price returned. So you know, these zones were formed way back here, and then price is coming back down to these zones, and this is how we can be so accurate and get in on trades with such little confirmation, because we've mapped out a specific area where price might have a reaction, and it's a super high probability for that tiny little area, and we can basically pinpoint where price is going to turn, but we still need some sort of confirmation, because as you can see, price came down and it just went straight through this first zone we had marked out. So you know, we wouldn't just have a limit waiting there, we're waiting for the reactions to the zone. And again, what you can see here is that price has just kind of tapped through this zone. So again, this wasn't particularly relevant. And if we look to the left, was there something just below that zone that price may have tapped into? And yeah, there might have been something that we missed right here with just this little bar. But yeah, when price is a little bit messy here, you're kind of just waiting for the reaction to see if what price does react to anyway. And so what you can see is that, you know, we ultimately got a little reaction here, and because we'd have been waiting for this overall area, this would have made sense to us. And if it was within our session that this happened, I'd quite happily look for entries based on the tap into this zone. But then ultimately, after price has this initial reaction, it comes back and does tap into, and it holds in the third zone that we had mapped out. So as you can see, what we're waiting for is a change of character on the 1 minute. Once we tap into the zone we've refined, and I'll go into entries in much more detail in the entries videos that are coming out. There is a sniper confirmation entry video, which is pretty much the same thing. So you can look into that, and in trade recaps I go over them as well. It's all the same thing. You see what we were looking for on the 15 minute, the 4 hour, the daily, the weekly, whatever. We're also looking at in the same way for our entries. It's all exactly the same thing. There's nothing special about entries. It's just the same thing occurring on the very low time frames, which means we can get involved in it with a very tiny stop loss. But if you wanted to play the same stuff on the higher time frames, such as the 15 minute, because you didn't have much time, you could play trades the exact same way that we play them on the 1 minute, just using 15 minute slower settings, or slower moving, bigger stop loss, and not having to be as focused completely on price. So yeah, if we look at this just briefly at what happened after that. We got our change of character here, and price came all the way back to this extreme, and then at this point all you'd wait for would be a 5-second entry based off of that, or potentially a 1-minute chock to be safe. But yeah, that's essentially what we would be looking for, and that is how we refine down zones. And as you can see, if I go to the 4-hour and just play price forward from where we are currently, the zone we tapped into, it absolutely went up from there all this way. That was the exact pinpoint place that price turned around and continued to break 4-hour structure, and it made perfect sense that it would do that based on our analysis and our refining down to our unmitigated zones. So I hope that made sense. Any questions, as always, post in the community or message me directly, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Yeah.